Does it help, Brian, does it help with the minutes that we do that? Does the thing be, is it able to tell us stuff?
Yeah, it
Could we do
can,
that?
particularly when there's new people, it's helpful.
Okay,
For me.
so
Should we do
because
that
it was muted, it's not.
Practice
keeping
run.
up.
At least for the new, yeah, you can say your names.
My name is Joe Rodriguez.
David Bookless, Deputy City Manager. Thank you. Everybody else.
Thank you. All right, okay, so next is the approval of the meeting minutes from the December 9th meeting. Do we have any comments on the minutes?
I just had a question about the discussion of the sign permit at the buildings. So part of our discussion was avoidance of product advertising. I don't know what that might have meant, but I would think that signs are the advertising is the point, have signs.
It's a national brand, I
Yes,
believe,
right.
and on the design standards. Types of products can be advertised, but not national brands.
Like, you're not supposed to have a great big Maytag sign, you know, you
Right.
have a small one, not a great big gigantic.
I didn't remember that discussion.
That's just one of the guidelines.
Yeah.
So I don't know if somebody said it.
Okay,
It's in a way, like, you could say Hillwinds is in a way, but yeah, what else are they supposed to do? That's a little different, I think.
Yeah, that's the actual name.
That's the name of the
business.
store.
Yeah.
So,
But
but
after last month, I keep looking at the neon signs at the church and stuff that we talked about. And I think, well, there's a church with a neon sign. And then, what did you say that schools and churches, we couldn't tell what to do.
they could, but they chose not to.
On the old Webster guidelines
It's
for
something.
preservations, it states a sign should identify a business and not a national product. So that's what we were referring.
Isn't that just content though? Maybe what he's proposing?
oh, yeah, what he's doing, I don't think it counts for that, but we might want to change it in a minute, that it's the national brand, maybe the wording there.
Yeah, just to make it more
Make that
clear.
correction, national brand, yes.
Yeah.
Instead of cross.
So
Okay, okay.
avoidance of national brand.
Yeah, 'cause that's what we should have said.
So
I'm not sure what we said.
Anyway, that was, yeah, we were referring to the guidelines
okay.
and, yeah, reading them off on the iPad.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, can we have a motion to approve the corrections?
So the change is and avoidance of a national brand. That's what we're changing it out for.
I'll read.
Yeah.
A sign can identify a business but not a national product. Like a national brand name. Like you could say dishwasher, but not, Maytag or something like that. You can identify, yeah, not national, not national.
Okay, I'll make that change on.
So can we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes as amended.
Second,
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the minutes have been approved as noted. So we have no public hearings today. And so next we have visitor comments, and this is for someone who is here for something other than a demolition or sign permit situation, just someone who wants to make a general comment of some sort. Do we have anybody?
Nope, not online.
Okay, so then we are going to move on to our new business. First, we have a demolition application for 739 Hearst Green Road. Any comments on that? We'll have a little discussion first, and then we will come to you.
Thank you.
We have any questions? So do any of the commission members have any comments or questions or anything? also does appear to have some
Yeah, very,
issues.
very serious disrepair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah, it's, you know. It looks like it was a very nice house at one time, but it's so severely deteriorated. It looks like, you know, it has some pretty pronounced structural issues as well. So, yeah, I personally would not be opposed to the demolition.
And this was approved at the ARB the last.
That was at the last meeting that the
design.
proposal for the new home was reviewed and approved.
Not relevant here, I guess. Maybe.
Okay, and I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah.
You're here.
I'm just here representing, I'm the home, I wouldn't be the homeowner.
Okay. All right, then. Oh, here is our council liaison here. Hi.
Still, cute house.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion for 739 Hurst Green Road?
I move that we approve the demolition of 739 Hirsch Green Road.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the demolition application for 739 Hurst Green Road is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have the sign permit applications. We have two. The first one is 234 West Lockwood.
This one is a follow-up from the last meeting, recall at last meeting, the canopies were approved. That correct, TJ? And he wanted to come back, you wanted him to come back with something else for the windows. So that's what he has here. The first page is what he's preferred to have in, and I'll let him explain that if you're open to that. And then he has the previous submittal, what was approved, what was presented last time, and then a couple of different concepts. So
Yeah, thank you. John, yeah, I mean, what we're showing here is just kind of, that black and white, which I think is kind of what, you guys have preferred. And, after some extensive study with, myself and my wife, and also, the children's marketing team, that's really what we would like to do, is this black and white, picture, motif, however you call it. We looked at doing maybe a tinted mirrored look. And that might work. I don't think it does the streetscape very much good. For people walking through or trying to understand what's going on. I think this is much better at presenting a lively and you know, good atmosphere for the corridor here.
I'm just curious, this is just a curiosity question. Are these representing the history of Kilwins?
It is, yeah, those are the original ones.
Yeah, do you know, I'm just curious, do you know about what year those were?
1947.
Wow.
Yeah. Up in Petoskey, Michigan.
They're Midwesterners.
Petoskey Stones, if anybody's got any of those, it's really fun to get up there. I've been up there several times now.
So these are all the pictures from their archives.
Pictures, yeah, it's the original photos that they, you know, from their archives. It's kind of our traditional picture for what the family, you know, represented and did. They owned it until he passed away. She passed away in the 90s, and another family, McCarty's, bought it from them. So we worked there forever, and they owned it up until their retirement about 2 years ago. So
Do they get in the pictures or just the originals?
they're in the pictures as well, but it's focused on that.
Yeah.
On that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that is a good idea. I'm glad you
Thanks.
put some thought into it. I
Yeah.
appreciate it greatly. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? So for me, I just my opinion on the whole thing. I don't mind the black and white photos. But if anybody would mind them, I then would prefer just the dark, charcoaly windows. You know, not necessarily mirrored, but just the dark windows. I don't care for the white frosted look. That's not my favorite, or the colored one. So, place, but
The issue from the guidelines was the color, right?
yeah,
Brightly
brightly colored,
No brightly colored things.
brightly,
Brightly colored, yeah.
brightly colored, yeah.
So this certainly insists.
Right, and as I think it was mentioned the last time, Straub's has that. They have historic photos of Straub's. And actually their photos are not necessarily, they're from the other Straub's, you know, too. They're not just those sort. So the Clayton Straub's.
I would do or simplistic.
So I don't know. Anybody else have any thoughts or which one they like? But you prefer the black and white photos? Is that what
I
you're doing?
do, great. Yeah, I think it gives a visual, it gives something, I mean, it's just when people are walking down, I think it's better than just a kind of looking at something they can't see through and trying to understand what's going on there. And I think they're really neat photos that portray our history. And I do think they bookend nicely with Straub's. It's white and has those types of pictures. So do we kind of cross from each other. So I do think it goes with the neighborhood and looks nice.
Anybody got anything else?
I do like the concept because I just think it's kind of goes into, it's historical.
Yeah.
Historical photos.
And they're appropriate. They're not just random
Yeah.
pictures or something.
Does it meet the sign code? It's not that it's our purview, but is that those coverage requirements okay from the sign
I
code?
don't think so. No. Well, we'll check that before release though.
Yeah, just curious.
I think the black and white photos are, I think they're nice and they do represent the history of the business and, yeah, I don't see any conflict with the design guidelines for the district.
All right, anything else? All right, and so tonight we're just voting on these window signs. Everything else has been. So do we have a motion for, what is this? Sorry, 234 West Lockwood sign application.
I'll make a motion to approve the preferred option for 234 Lockwood.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Your sign application has been approved for 234 West Lockwood. Thank you. All right, next up is 483 East Lockwood. Which is a church. And you, I have to ask, I'm not sure. How does it apply to churches? You know.
Oh, as far as do they have special? I don't believe they do. Dave, do you recall churches have any special? I said, I don't think they do. No.
Time, place, and manner for every use.
Yeah, I didn't think they have any. So no, it's just business as usual.
Okay, business as usual.
If that's the best way to put it. But no, they don't get any special compensation just because it's a church.
Sometimes they don't have to
Yeah,
apply.
yeah,
Start guide.
something. And there is these fine folks, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm Jeff Davis with the Board of the Church, and this is Jim Barr, minister.
Good to meet you. Thank you for coming. Okay, does anyone have any comments on this? So we do have, and this is very colorful.
Not sure what I'm at yet.
I think I can see that.
Keep going.
This one?
Yeah.
So this is, okay, this is the whole thing then.
So
The
with
base
the,
is the rainbow and then the top is, so
so this, the top would be, it's actually going to be white.
Illuminated from inside, yes, fine.
Is it
So it is
LED?
And then the pedestal is the rainbow color.
It's illuminated from inside.
So.
Lights,
oh, it is.
so it's not gonna have. It's not a neon
It's not an
word's gonna
LED.
change all the time.
just-
It's just gonna be
No, we're not gonna go for it. It's just a
kind of like a monument sign with a light inside.
instead of lighting it from the outside, facing it, it just glows from the inside.
Okay, it's aluminum, right? So there's some parts of it that are
Yes, like the,
holes, I guess you could say, or
oh,
whatever.
the base is solid in the frame. It's just that it's, you know, they're going to call for page so that this light comes through.
Yeah, it should kind of like, it
That's,
should be it's gonna be the plastic inside the metal that gives you the letters and the lights inside.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I guess that's what I meant by holes. There's plastic in parts of the aluminum that would glow.
Yeah,
Right,
Okay,
right.
gotcha. Okay.
how will it look compared to the Eden sign? It's just to the, I forget my ordinance, but will it look like the Eden sign? I believe there's no, it will not look like the Eden sign. I believe there is a picture of the Eden sign.
Yeah, there is. That's why I was wondering.
Yes.
The corner.
Right.
It'll be,
It's brick.
taller,
Oh, thank you very much.
it'll be taller and it'll be, I mean, I think the Eden sign, I think it mostly kind of like stone.
It's
Yeah.
brick.
Yeah, right.
So it
Yeah,
matches
instead of
the
stone.
buildings, which is actually in the guidelines, there is supposed to be some coordination between your sign and your building. Which
Building.
I'm just gonna say there is not. in this case.
I would say compared to the signs for the main or across the street, I think this is gonna be a little more, a little more understated in, some people know what's there, but it's probably gonna be a.
Well, in the dark.
Does Eden have to approve this?
They
did, yeah.
They have approved.
Yeah, so they filled out part of the paperwork for us.
Oh.
And see.
Review that guideline about matching the building to the sign. See if that in that second.
I buried it.
There's even signs at two different places. There's one in the corner and then there's one on the corner of Bomb Park and. But it's the same brick and the same stone. Here's a girl.
At the Baumgarten entrance, they have a totally different type of sign.
Well,
We don't.
On the guidelines for signs in the Old Webster Preservation Guidelines, it states new signs and replacement signs will be reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission with the intent of preserving the historic atmosphere of the district and respecting the architectural features of the building for which the sign is intended.
What is? So.
We also need to decide what a minimum of colors.
Yeah, so the other guideline that's relevant is a simple letter style and a minimum of colors should be used. So,
Is it okay to talk or?
sure,
It just, again, it will not be, it's going to pretty, other than the kind of the glowing letters. There's not gonna be a lot of ribbon lines or anything, it's not set up that way, so it's gonna be, anyway, that's it, I mean, to me, it looks like mostly like a white sign.
And I also, what comes to mind is, the seminary campus is on the National Register of Historic Museums.
Did you consider doing anything other than white? Like a different color?
Like rainbow?
Okay, and then the black leather. Or.
Well, I mean, something more, for one thing, white looks dirty after about 10 minutes. So, you know, it's going to look dirty.
Depends on.
It will. And so did you consider a more toned down thing, some color rather than a bright white?
We kind of took, honestly, we kind of took direction on design from our sign company.
Yeah.
Out of Chicago, and they've got a connection to our church and I mean, I could absolutely ask them about other colors. Instead of white, we could also ask them a question about the dirtiness. And since this is aluminum, maybe it's going to stay clean, but I can't speak with authority
You
about
can
that.
drive around and look at white things. They don't stay clean. That's just the way it is. You know, they would to a degree for a little while. Then it starts to have that dirty white look. That's just the way life goes. That's why things are often maybe a taupey color or something, you know, instead. It's a little more forgiving.
Yeah, or, and also too, something to keep in mind is that, old paint, even old white paint, isn't a bright, cool white. Because they used to use linseed oil as a base of the paint. And so that linseed oil would seep into the pigment and it made the white look like a warmer, more of a cream color. So, you know, that might be an option for toning down the background instead of having a bright, cold white.
This meeting is being recorded, right? So we can
Yes.
play this back to the
So
sign.
that we can see the.
Yes, you can.
Okay. So you're thinking more of a cream or something like that?
Yeah. And,
I'm gonna go to an actual gray too, for the stone or.
I like that.
Right, that would be a good way to go. Matching a color of the stone that's around the area. Use something like that, whether that's a grayish color, you know, a warm gray, a cool gray kind of tone. Since this is painted, be any color you want. For me personally, I don't really mind the words, that sort of stuff that's here. That doesn't bother me. I don't know about everybody else, but my only concern was sort of the bright white sign is a little different than most everything else, you know, for it to be so bright.
I mean, also, this is a subtle point, but it has such stark edges to it. It has such sharp geometry that, I don't know, seems like, I don't know, maybe if it could be rounded out a little bit at the corners or softened a little bit, that might, you know, it just seems like very starkly.
I think it would help
angular.
if your sign company can provide us with an actual rendering of the sign in place with a person standing, because this is also a 6-foot tall sign. So maybe just seeing it in place there would be really helpful
Proportions.
with the, yes.
Yeah, realistic picture maybe would help.
Is those the sign for the entry to Eden is comparatively low compared to a 6-foot tall sign. And, you know, what would you say?
And the box.
This
size
is
looks even lower.
demarking the campus, the whole thing, and y'all are you know, one entity within the campus, and then the size of this sign starts to dominate the signage for the entire campus.
One of the things we considered with that, with a low sign, is there's always parking there. And so nobody would see it. We put our money into a sign that was that low right there because of the cars parking. We thought the visibility would be blocked.
So the blue and white on here is indicating where the sign is planned to be.
Yeah, we just hung a banner there to make it visible, except it would go the other way. Then we'd see it coming from each way, instead of, you know, I'm trying to say. Perpendicular instead of parallel to the street. Thank you.
That is, I mean, that's
Yes,
part of
that's-
the challenge here is that we are not on, this sign is not on the corner like the other deed to sign. So it's gonna, That's a great point about the height, because if the car's parked there and it's as low as
Yeah.
what you see the Webster sign, sorry, the Eaton sign, it would be hard to
Yeah.
hear.
And we couldn't put it closer to the Eden sign because that is actually Webster University property. That is not Eden's property, so we can't be putting on somebody else's property.
So are you open to looking at a different color for it or a little different
Yes.
design?
Yes. Like I said, I think the height is, if we were, he asked to go down to the level of the height of the other Eden signs, considering this is in the middle of, you'd have, people who walk by would see it, but people wouldn't see it. So that's a challenge.
I understand that point and thank you for bringing that up. I think another point to consider is having a site plan that clearly indicates that this is perpendicular to the road, because until you mentioned that, it wasn't conveyed on your submittal. And so, but I mean, if it's perpendicular to the road and the cars are parked here, it's not really gonna block that much of the view of the sun. You know what I mean? If the cars are at the curb and you have a sign that's back a bit and perpendicular and lighted, I don't know, it's not like the sign is here and the car's parked right in front of it. Like, you know, where the banner you have, yeah, I mean, I can totally see where cars parked in front of that and you don't see it.
Yeah.
But if you're going perpendicular to that and it's going to be lighted, I think that would help solve a lot of your visibility issues.
Yeah, if you could maybe ask them to do maybe 2 additional, in my mind, one, a plan view. So from the top where it's going to be in relation on an aerial photograph, so you can kind of see that. And then also one that shows, they usually put a little fake average sized man kind of next to him. So you can kind of get an idea of how tall it is. Or man, or woman, I don't mean. It's okay. A person. Sorry. So you get an idea of how tall, I mean, because most of us are not 6 feet and that's going to be a tall sign. So just if you would provide that.
Are there any considerations with it being on the National Register?
Those, I guess, the secretary standards for the interior, or the Secretary of the Interior standards for historic places would apply.
Yes.
Yeah.
However,
That's not our job.
I'm
Is
sorry.
that part of something we need to consider before we authorize it?
It's how they're enforced.
Yeah.
So it would be a question of we have more control over what goes on than, you know, someone who's going to come here to
No one
look
can
at it,
have
right?
to.
So that is the issue. It's more up to us than anything else. However, we are also kind of representing the situation of doing that task as well, you could say. Because the state historic preservation officer could come here representing the state of Missouri or federal government and those, but that's all a little extreme for a sign. So, you know, they're not trying to get tax credits or anything like that. And quite often, when it comes to a church, then it's going to be different under the national standards. I've never seen them. They don't enforce them quite the same when it comes to a church. So, you know, it's more us than it is that.
And I also think it's worth noting because, you know, to respect the standing, the national standing.
Yeah.
And we are a certified local government.
That's right.
And we are sort of entrusted as such by the state of Missouri to protect our historic properties.
Exactly.
So, and if you falter on that, you can lose your CLG.
Which allows us to get money for the most part. So, you know, like we can ask for funds and so forth to do historic stuff.
Unless hearing 2 different interpretations, 2 different answers to the question, like it's up to us to interpret it, but also we have responsibility to
Well, it's up to us to
Please consider.
interpret the standards and apply them.
Yeah.
Package.
It's us here.
When you say it was approved by the university, who is they? Do they have a committee over there who takes care of these things, or was it the secretary that?
I work with the, I'd have to look at his title,
Okay.
that's over all the maintenance and all of that for the university because he is our go-between. Now, did he take it to the trustees? I don't know, but he's the one that he's the one that talks to us and we talk to them. You know, I would assume he at least took it to President Krause.
I think that would be a pertinent question. So, there isn't a disconnect and somebody gets surprised after God spent money.
Well,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's in our lease that they let us have a sign.
But we will, when we come back with this new treatment, we will say to you that the president of the university signed off on it.
That's great. I mean, I just think that's in everybody's best interest after 30 years of practicing architecture. You kind of want to make sure everybody's
Right.
good with things before you proceed.
That's what I'm saying.
If I could add one more thing, could you provide a higher resolution drawing? It's hard to read the notes on the side of the sheets.
Yes. And you're talking about this.
Yeah, just
Higher
make it so these are
resolution.
a little easier to read.
Got it.
Okay, so we will table this then for our next meetings. We only meet once a month. But next time.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So the sign's okay other than the white coloring and possibly the heart. There's not a problem with the rainbow bottom. That's our identity.
Yeah,
That's why we use that on it.
I'm not uncomfortable with the signs, the colors, I mean.
Okay.
I know it's your identity.
Yeah.
But it does say in there about not using excessive colors. And I think we can interpret that however we want to.
Okay, that's why I kind of wanted to get a feel for that before we go back to the sign company saying, you know, this is all we need. And then
yeah, that's kind of going with the same way as Hillary. I was looking at, but that's a small part at the bottom. It's not like a whole sign is a rainbow.
Right, right.
So, yeah, right. It's down at the bottom relative to the whole thing. So that was okay with me.
Okay.
Wouldn't want lots more color, but you know, otherwise it's fine. Does anybody else have any other comments that they want to hear before they go to the sign people?
Yeah, I just, something just crossed my mind, and I don't know if this occurred to you, is doing the colors, all of your colors, but making the stripes run horizontal. So you would still have the colors, but I guess maybe the color blocks wouldn't seem as bold if they were thinner and going this way. That just crossed my mind. You know, y'all can think about that.
You could have them maybe do a concept and see what you think of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, if you don't like it, that's fine. I was thinking of ways to kind of maintain the identity, the rainbow identity, but maybe not have such large blocks of color. If it runs horizontal.
Right, because like the dots in the word peace, I sort of, you know, those are kind of, I liked them personally. I feel like that is subtle and sort of neat that way. So yeah, to make it maybe a little more subtle, I don't know.
Yeah, and that would, it kind of, in a way, it kind of ties in with the dots on the piece are in a horizontal line, and then your stripes. You know, you can look at it and see what you think. I think that might look really nice. You can maintain the rainbow identity, which I think is great, and it would still have all your colors, but not such large blocks of color.
So if we did go the other way, then would it be possible that it would be the progressive transfer or progressive pride?
You know, I guess that would be up to y'all to interpret. I mean, just a suggestion. I was looking at it from strictly a design point.
Yeah, you know, the words there, because 47 East Lafayette Avenue kind of disappears a little with some of the colors, so.
I didn't even see it for a time.
But it, just the yellow color.
The the practical point there.
What's the material gonna be at the base?
Well, the bigger part is aluminum. And I don't,
I thought it was all of them. Yeah, it looks like the whole thing is aluminum.
exterior grade vinyl for the stripes on the. Yeah, applied to the surface, which yes, I'm assuming also is aluminum. But this is being recorded and we'll make sure we introduce that.
Yeah.
I think Angela's point is good, like if you do decide to go with horizontal stripes, having the address like in the yellow stripe. So you can see it and you kind of read it as a continuous rather than having to pick it out of the different colors.
Great.
And I think that's a real good suggestion.
Would it be? Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I was just gonna say that you may realize our mailing address is not the address we're putting on the sign. We're putting on the sign the actual address of Press Hall, which has the chapel in it,
Oh,
instead of our mailing address. Which is,
We are.
we're at
so we're in the-
483.
Yeah, we're in the basement with our offices
Okay.
and then,
a
you know,
different
Sunday
building.
services in the big sanctuary.
well, that makes sense, because it seems like you would be guiding people to the church or something.
I questioned it, so that's why I figured out.
It's kind of, yeah, here's our sign, drive into this parking lot, we'll get you there.
Way to get you to where you need to go.
All right, anything else for anyone? Okay, I think you have enough then
Yes,
for
we do.
tonight,
Yes, we do.
and we will see you the next time.
Great, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And your ideas.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Is it okay to go now or should we?
You can leave and stay, whichever. you
Yeah,
want.
but see, if you
Thanks
talk
very
about
much.
it, we can see it on the.
That's
video,
right.
so, yeah.
That's right. Whatever we say, everyone gets to see. Okay, moving on to old business. Do we want to, we kind of had that brief discussion, the front facing garage thing. Do you want to do that first?
Yeah.
Okay, we were just wondering if, so we had presented to or submitted some information about putting the front facing garage information along with the comprehensive plan. Was that distributed to the?
I don't know
City
that that
council.
was made to the council. The presentation that I had to do was had to be whittled down a little bit, but I don't. So I remember, I think I recall getting it. I think I was about just when I was starting, but I'll go back and review that. I don't recall the specifics of it off the top of my head, but I'll go back and look at it. But
Okay,
and there hasn't been any action on that particular thing just yet. We're gonna bring that to the plan commission on the 1st of February, 2nd of February. So
second of February.
yeah, so nothing's been done just yet. So
I think it's really important that the contents of the discussions and the rationale are conveyed to the council. So they know it's just not a matter of sort of personal taste. And that we did have specific recommendations, because I know there has been a very legitimate concern that in areas where there's small houses with existing carports, if carports aren't counted as front opening garages, people are prohibited from enclosing those carports as garages or building new houses with front facing garages, which I understand that that is an important concern. So that addresses that concern. And I think it's important to pass that recommendation along. And we did have discussions based on urban planning lessons learned about how porches are community building spaces. Having porches where people stay and linger creates community. That you get to know your neighbors when you're out on your front porch. However, it was tried and there were failures from a community building standpoint when people started building the big front facing garages. The porches got smaller, they got pushed back. They're no longer congregation spaces, and people start congregating only in their rear yards, and they don't get to know their neighbors. And Webster Code specifically allows for front porches to be built over the building line specifically for the purpose of promoting those community spaces. And if we go in and start saying, okay, well, let's just build front facing garages everywhere, over time, those community building spaces are lost. And, you know, I know there's thoughts of, well, let's get modern, let's be progressive by building all these front facing garages, but it's really just repeating the mistakes of the 70s. And, you know, there was a lot of really considered study-based discussion that seems to have been lost. And a major concern is that the front-facing garage, that so-called 40% rule, that is the only zoning ordinance that protects the historic districts. Now, there's design guidelines, but obviously design guidelines don't carry the same force as a zoning law. So if that is removed, there is no zoning law that keeps front-facing garages out of our historic districts. And, you know, I know there's been a lot of personnel changes. When Elliot Leibson was working with us on this, he did the follow-up research and he did come back. I know he came back to the ARB and confirmed that for us. And that was one of our main points, and one of our major concerns is that, you know, we need an ordinance, not just design guidelines, an ordinance that protects the historic districts. And that was what really raised our concerns and said, hey, you know, we need to talk about this. Now let's just not rush forward. We need to do some considered discussion, because when you're talking about the built environment, we're going to be living with that for a really long time. So I think it's worth the effort to make sure that these points are conveyed.
And all of that meeting was recorded. And then there's also emails and things that were sent over so that information is retained and recorded and built into the conversation and all of that and the decisions when they're made. So
Can I just ask a point of information, John? Was there a memo that came from this commission that you presented to as part of your packet to council?
I don't know if that particular, I don't know if it was or not. I know you got a
when we
sentence.
did that, when we had that discussion here, that was
Yeah,
before
I
you
don't think I was here when this commission had it, so I don't know.
Because ultimately,
we
we can't include the nuance of an entire
Yeah,
discussion.
you guys-
There's a memo that came from
There was.
commission to John.
Right,
And
yes, there was.
that memo, depending on how in depth it went, you know.
It's very in-depth.
It's very in-depth, and it
I'll go back.
specifically
Make sure I have
addresses
it.
how our position relates to various specific points in the comprehensive plan. And a lot of effort was put into that, and we would like to make sure that that gets passed along and presented, because it is really important. And I did hear some references about why are we even talking to historic preservation about this? These are the reasons why. And it is very important.
Can I ask why this has been proposed? Is it something to do with the effort to have more affordable housing? Is that what it's about? Or why are we thinking of getting rid of this?
Well, because some of it does have to do with the cost of construction, and there's absolutely a cost related. It's more at the end of the day to wrap something around the side, a turn radius, a garage down the side, a detached garage. If you have to have a detached garage, there's so much space that has to be between the detached garage and the houses. So there are costs according to that. And then the other is that people feeling like they should have a little more control over what they wish to do with their property. I get the thought about the community building, but just because a person doesn't have their porch on the front of the house does not mean that they still don't coordinate with or congregate with their community in their decks, in their, in the other place. And then the other thing is even, and I've just watched it in our neighborhood, because builders are so conscious about the prices and the cost of things. Even when they've gone into some of these older homes and then they've renovated, they still may not put a front entry garage on there, but they make the porch as small as possible because it costs more. It costs more for them to go back with a porch that may have been historically representative of the or on the house or the neighborhood or what have you. But so I mean, that's why we put it out there to get all of the input, the different opinions, the historical thing. We know that the historical community, the historical neighborhoods and everything are definitely something that we have to make sure that maintains protection. But we just needed to take another look at this because the situation, affordability, changes in construction, what people are doing then and now in terms of even the builders of what they're doing and how they have necessarily changed.
Could you give me some specifics on that? Because
none of that rings true.
yeah,
Which what? That people don't build smaller porches?
no, the
No.
changes of buildings in building technology that have taken place that are driving this.
I didn't say anything about changes in building technology. I
So-
said that even in places where, and I have several examples, even in my neighborhood, couple even across the street from me, there are older houses. They had beautiful full porches. But when those houses changed hands, even though they don't have a front entry garage, when the people that bought the homes and what have you came back, they made the porch only as big as they had to really to get in the front door. So they didn't just automatically go back with the type of porch that allows for congregating with your neighbors and everything.
Well, that was their personal choice.
But
Yeah.
that's,
And
So one
the-
thing I do have a question about. So this is a regulation that came from the community. It's here because the citizens of Webster Groves want it. That's why it's here. Because people did not want people building garages right up towards the street. They don't care. And you can go around to many streets. There are no garages at all. People bought the houses that way repeatedly, spent a
and
lot
you
of money.
go
for
around
those.
to many streets where the majority of the houses on the streets have garages.
Very,
So I'm-
very few.
So just
Almost
because-
none.
Just because
Almost none.
somebody does not have a front
So,
entry
but-
garage does not make that house less valuable
I agree.
to that person
I
and
agree.
even to the community from the cost perspective of what they're getting for these houses around here. That's not defraying the ability or the value of the home just because there's a preference to have a front entry garage or not.
So a front entry garage in some neighborhoods will reduce the value of all of the homes without question. It will remove the trees, will pave the front yard, and you'll look out at, instead of rather quaint, nice old neighborhood that people come to Webster Groves for, they're paying for a little bit. You're not gonna see that. They'll say, oh, well, I could move somewhere else. And yes, they will. And so you say that, but this information can be backed up. It's how historic neighborhoods go downhill.
John, you can refresh my memory, but I believe there's no plan to eliminate the 40% rule. It's only the 40% rule if people want a garage larger than what's allowed. So the 40% rule is proposed to stay in place,
okay, that is not what we heard.
That's the proposal, was to remove the 40%.
right? And the recommendation, I believe, that came from staff based on all of the various commissions that had comments was they were in favor of maintaining the 40% rule in general, eliminating
Yeah.
the 40%.
Yeah. And there were other pages to that, so I'll go
So,
back. and
yeah,
look at
this
it.
one still just says eliminate the 40%.
Yeah, because we haven't seen any.
Yeah.
No.
David, could you please tell us what the current proposal is?
So what is the current?
Well, it hasn't been
There
submitted.
isn't
yet.
one. It's gonna go to the plan commission, so there isn't,
Commission's
there isn't a proposal yet, so there's plenty of time to act on it.
But the feedback that came from all the various commissions overall
Yeah.
was that keep the 40% rule, the standard 40% rule.
Make
Add,
some changes.
make some changes. The change would be to add the side facade to match the front, right? And then to eliminate the ability for the ARB to grant a variance for a larger garage than what otherwise would be allowed. So they could sell it a front entry garage, just couldn't be bigger than what was in the code, regardless of what the other house is on the street at. That was the last I heard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds like what we've said, because what we've been hearing when I watched that meeting and people were saying, oh, well, this won't affect historic, will it? I was like,
You can write anything in the ordinance.
yeah,
But it has to go before planning commission, they'll make a recommendation to council.
okay.
And there's public hearings the entire time.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
wanted to make sure that that information wasn't being lost, because when I watched that meeting, all I was seeing was sort of the bullet points that were voted upon. And it was very concerning.
And it'd be lovely to be able to give all the details of all the conversations at a council meeting, but we really have a limited amount of time, as I'm sure you know. And John was trying to distill down what all the commissions had to say, and I think generally speaking, it wasn't that different than what you had to say.
Good,
Okay.
that's great. I am very
Yeah.
glad to hear that. Because I was thinking that, we, in addition to being a commission, we are also all individual citizens, and we could tag team our 3 minutes in a council meeting to make sure that everything is heard. But I feel much better hearing that, what the current thinking is, and that there will be an effort made to make sure that summary that addresses.
And I'll get a copy of that summary if I don't already have it. If it was sent to Elliot, maybe I didn't get it, but I'll get a copy of that and I'll consider that when I write the staff report.
Yeah, and another item that I don't know if this was brought up, during the time you were here, John, but we were hearing that one of the reasons to get rid of the 40% rule is because it was being applied inconsistently. And I was very surprised to hear that. And I wondered if anybody had pointed out specific cases where it had not been applied consistently. And because
I'm not aware of, no.
yeah, and I think these are important questions to be asked, so people aren't operating with misinformation.
Oh, we
Yeah.
apply it pretty consistently.
Yeah,
in the
I-
department through.
That was
Review,
my
yeah.
impression too, but when I was hearing, well, one of the reasons we want to get rid of this is because it's not being applied consistently, that didn't ring true with me. And I was thinking, well, yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's the case. Yeah, we all, if plan reviewers have any doubt at all, we all sit down and talk about it.
Yeah, that was my impression, just being on.
The
on
applied
ARB.
inconsistently statement probably had more to do with how front entry garages and carports
Yeah,
Or
that's not
treated.
right. Yeah, that
Yeah,
is.
so
inconsistent.
I think that it's important to make that clarification, because the way it's been stated, it sounds like the whole rule isn't being applied consistently. So, that was concerning to me as well. That we're sure that everybody who's making the decisions is aware that, this is a zoning ordinance. It's applied by the planning department. It's not a matter of, the ARB saying, oh, well, yeah, you can and we can't. That is not it. It's a zoning ordinance. It's a city law. And like Angela was saying, that law was developed as a result of a really good, long, spirited community discussion that took place 20 plus years ago that a lot of us were involved in. And I personally was really pleased with how the city and the citizens handled it. And I think that compromise of that 40% rule addressed concerns of all sides. So that was like, it was like a victory. I think everybody was very pleased. And I think there's a real good reason to maintain that effort
Sure.
and you know, make changes thoughtfully, because in the built environment, we're all going to be living with it, and we're going to be living with it for a long time.
I could perhaps offer an observation. When Elliot was first doing the research, he noted that there was seemingly a consistency when front-facing garages were brought before the BOA and they were traditionally approved. And so I think he saw a pattern developing where the BOA was of the habit of approving variances for those applicants wanting to build a front-facing garage.
Yeah, we heard that and we appreciate it. And I think when we looked into it more deeply, and Elliot did this, he looked at it, and when you actually look at the number of variances, some of those projects had more than one variance. So if you look at the number of variances, these aren't the exact numbers. It may have looked like 21, but when you looked at the number of projects, it was really like 18. And the thought was, okay, this has been less than one project per year over the last 20 years. And it shows that the system is working, because if somebody did have a legitimate hardship, they have a remedy. So that was the thinking there. So we really appreciate Elliot doing the due diligence and following.
Okay. All right, so moving on from that one, we wanted to discuss our meeting packets a little bit.
Yes.
And so for me, we do get a lot of this like real estate information that I don't know that we need it. To
I would
say,
agree.
is there a list of what? I'm pretty sure there is a list that tells them what they're supposed to put in the packet, right?
I think it's on the application, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. And I didn't know with all this stuff, the information that's in there, if I know what I look at, but I didn't know if some of it was driven by other legal requirements that the city needed to
We
have.
can
them
visit
to-
that because a lot of the information is for staff to verify ownership and whatnot. That doesn't necessarily need to go before you.
And a lot of times, I'm sorry, David.
So you need to see the things that are germane to the discussion and decisions that you're gonna make. So we can revisit that and maybe narrow things down. And before I hand it back over to John, would you all be amenable to receiving just electronic versions of this so we can maybe save a few trees here and there?
Yeah, and maybe have one hard copy for reference during the meeting if we need it. I think that would be fine. I mean, I just kind of went through and wrote down what I looked at in the packets. I don't know if anybody's interested in hearing this or not.
Well, we could also limit on the application what people, because the last meeting we guys had like a stack of papers like that.
Ridiculous.
Everybody sent those. I didn't make any copies of those. Everybody sent like 12 copies of those things in. So we could just say, hey, just send us one copy and a digital copy and something like that. And then we can send them digitally to you guys. And then if you want a paper copy, let me know and I'll make one. Otherwise, we can have one here available so you can pass it around if you need to, but that would, as David said, it would just, great,
And if any of you ever want to come in during like business hours, hey, can I look at this, the application a little bit more closely? I'm sure John.
So would we be able to show like this,
If
like
it's a-
stuff
if it-
like this?
if it's kind of like.
Well, that last time when all those things were hit, I didn't make any of those copies. I mean, I made a couple of them. I made a couple of these tonight because it wasn't that thick. But a lot of those just came like that. Man, it's a lot of paper.
Joe will need some lessons on how to do Zoom online, but you can share the computer screen. So.
Right, you just pull it up.
Yeah,
look at
you
it.
can pull it up. That way the folks in the audience out there can see it. And you all can also see it on the television rather than necessarily having to pass around a paper copy.
Yeah,
Seems a
that
little
would be
archaic,
helpful
but
too, if we need to take a close look at photographs to have it large and on the screen.
We all look at the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
But just
Okay,
for
that's pretty good.
clarification, you guys are already receiving digital copies of the agenda, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
only,
Well,
we
we-
only receive digital. We don't.
Until
now.
Yeah, we don't need any.
But I just need this here
Right.
to recycle.
But even if it's digital, there's a whole lot of paper in here that
Yeah,
we don't.
we-
need to
we
see.
can
could
reduce that.
Narrow it down to maybe, I'm gonna guess, 5 things that we all
I've
look
got-
at, the pictures and the application.
The application, the
And the history.
photos,
A site plan,
the
Yeah.
historic documentation.
You could figure out what we
Sorry,
don't.
And,
Yeah, we could, it probably makes sense what you,
Yeah.
what you don't.
Right,
and the building
if you're okay with it,
Stick
maybe
it
allow staff to take a
history.
stab at it, and if you're
Yeah.
comfortable with what
and
Joe and John put together.
yeah, the building inspection reports are really important.
Yeah.
And any other pertinent reports that the owners submit, like any structural engineering reports. Those are important to see because, I think we've all seen people, sometimes tend to overblow things like when there's claims of structural failure, they'll show close-up picture of one crack in the basement and go over that.
So if you're comfortable with it, I think John and Joe
Yeah.
can cover that down.
So aside from the, on the demolition one, which you guys get a fair number of those. Aside from the real estate, information at the back, there wasn't a whole lot in there that you guys didn't need to see. I mean, most of that.
Wasn't too bad.
Yeah, most of that, yeah, so aside from the real estate information, that looked like it was, pretty much,
Yeah, but this
On
one's not so
spot.
bad. It's when it's that, you know,
yeah, there were some really big ones last time.
I don't even know what it all is. I don't look at it.
And I don't know if the difference between what Mara used to do versus and what John Eagle is doing now, but I always appreciated the newspapers.com research to see, you guys look at it from a physical building standpoint, but another reason for historic
The history.
is what happened there, who might have grown up there. So I thought that was really valuable too.
Yeah,
Yeah, and well,
John Eagle's stuff is very.
Yeah.
John does
Yes.
that.
Does he- I don't know, there was just the one article in here, but yours.
Yeah, that's only found for the.
Yeah.
But it works. Okay, I don't know if it's, again, I don't know if it's his job or you guys' job to do that, but I just really do value that.
So John offers to do that.
Okay.
He likes it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
a
think
fabulous
that's-
job.
yeah.
Yeah.
He really.
Yeah, we don't have the capacity to do that kind of research for each individual project. So the fact that somebody's offering to do it, that's outstanding.
Yeah,
Okay, so we'll take a stab at the content.
Great, that would be nice to not have the gigantic PDF to
Then
punch through. Okay, so our next item is the budget and annual review.
yeah, so it's the time of year when we have to do budgets for each of the boards and commissions. And on the back of that first page there is the budget for the Historic Preservation Commission. You were budgeted $1,820. So far we spent 48. It was for the plaque, I think, not too long ago. I recall seeing the invoice. And some of that is for special events, 1,600. And some of it's for advertising, if that needs to be, that comes out of your budget. And the Gregory Donovan, the finance director, said usually that this request the same amount, or generally the same amount for next year, if that's amenable. If you guys have any comments one way or the other. But I would need to fill this out, and we can fill this out. You guys can put some comments on this page, and we can collect those next time and put that together. But we need to put that together after the February.
Actually, what would be really helpful would be is if you emailed that to John or Joe.
Yeah.
Your comments. So that way there's something that is presented to you to
Yeah.
potentially vote on at the February meeting. You can theoretically redline it at that meeting and vote on those amendments, but these documents are due the third week in February. Council needs to see them. So we need to get that approved in February. And I know in years past, there have been a number of extensions on that deadline, but we've been directed as staff not to be offering extensions this year. So, because we were way behind schedule with the budget last year, and we want to avoid that.
And this, doesn't seem to be an overly complicated budget, so.
Yeah.
So whatever comments you may have, of course, we can fill the members and liaison part in. And the same goes for the annual end of the year report. I don't think that's on the same timeline, was it?
It's on the same timeline.
It is on the same
Yes.
timeline. Okay, so both those, if you can get some comments of those to Joe and I, then we'll present something at the next meeting and then hack it up and go from there.
Sounds good. So what happens with our money that we don't spend? Like, you
It just
know,
gets reallocated.
Yeah.
That's
Barbecue.
I'm no finance person, but generally speaking, it just, you make an estimate, you don't spend it, the money stays with the city, and then ultimately, when they look at whether it's in their balanced budget, when they look back, they say that you ended up, maybe we earned more in taxes than we anticipated, we spent less, so the budget balance looks better than it might have otherwise looked.
well, they have an extra $1,000 there.
Yeah.
So did we not get plaques or they're just?
No, we did. They
They
just,
just didn't cost?
yeah, I mean,
$58.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
There's just the one, I think. left.
But so we had also talked about doing the signage with the
With the site that's on Purple.
Development down there on
Yeah,
Purple.
but you know,
Yeah,
there's nothing
nothing's
going
happened.
on. So there's nothing for us to.
Right.
And like John said, just if you maintain what you asked for previously, that money is there, should that project or a project come back.
Yeah, okay, so.
Or
this
you have
meeting-
special events. I mean, that's kind of a wide ranging issue. I don't know what special events you might have, but
So we don't get dinged for asking for money and
No,
not using it
no.
or I don't know what.
Not yet. Yeah, I can't make promises for the future, but as it stands now, you're probably okay just asking for the same.
Okay,
But it wouldn't hurt that you lay out for your budget what projects you anticipate and how that money might be spent to that end. But if you're not asking to do anything and you're asking for $1,800, that might not vote as well.
right.
and those are all the questions here. And I think I got the Word documents of these. I'll forward them to you guys.
Okay, it's
So
really, we're
it's
asking,
easier to work on.
I guess it's kind of why I wonder, because we're sort of asking for the money for the same reason as we did last year.
So yeah,
Right,
just
so-
duplicate the same thing.
That makes it easy.
Other than the little gold plaques.
These are consistent.
Impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yes,
We don't need those. Got those.
we
That
got
didn't
those.
cost very
We're
much.
caught up unless we do some more historic designations and then in which case I now know where to go, where they'll work with our plaques and they were very reasonable. And once I found them, it was slam dunk.
And frankly, if it came down, it's like, say you asked for $100 to do that and it came to 120.
Well,
We pay 120 and take $20 out of one of your other, one of your other projects. It all balances out.
I'm $120.
You know what I'm saying?
Break the whole city. So-
Turn the lights out. We're done.
We're in trouble. We're talking about $20.
So, yeah, but I'll send those Word documents out to you so you have something to type into if you so choose.
Okay. Great. Alrighty. Next meeting is February 10th.
Ryan,
Sorry. Oh, yes. Liaison to the historic.
I'll make this very brief, but thank goodness for Carol and Angela. They came to the Historic Preservation or the Historical Society board that's looking at, the repairs to the Hawken House and convinced them that if they just went with asphalt shingles instead of this fancy plastic thing that they want to put, that their costs would be more attainable, And now the Historical Society is planning to come to council on February 17th with their numbers. And so they're much
needed
better
specific.
prepared.
What is it that they're asking?
I
What
think
do
they needed some
need?
direction
Yeah.
and they got it from Carol and Angela.
Okay.
And yeah, so I think they're feeling a lot better about things. I know I am. And it was a very good meeting.
Yeah, they got rid of those plastic
Plastic, yeah.
things. And it was kind of funky and expensive. That was
Yes.
that's the biggest thing. Why?
Yeah, they were initially gonna go with the most expensive option, but we talked them down off the ledge and.
Yeah, and it's important to note too that it doesn't jeopardize the National Register because in the National Register nomination, it specifically says the original roof was wood. it currently had asphalt shingles on it when it was accepted and listed onto the register. So there was really not a reason to do anything above and beyond that. And with the cost savings, they could be a much better steward to the building and repair other things greatly in need. So it seemed like that was a really good way to go.
Yeah,
That was good.
yeah, that's good. They'll have it all together for the next. Yeah. Well, kind of.
February 17th.
February
There's two more
17th.
meetings,
Two
I think.
meetings, something like that.
Yeah.
Couple meetings away. Okay. All right. Anybody else have something? Karen, did you have anything for us from council?
No, that was just, that basically there, we had talked about looking at the front entry garage along with floor area ratio
Oh, that's right.
stuff before and, but determine that because there's things that's gonna have to be done in the comprehensive plan. And we're looking at some things that could be addressed, go ahead and be addressed before that, but we determined that there needs to be more work done with the floor area ratio piece that's not gonna allow those to be combined together. So
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes it all too complicated.
yeah, and I mean, and you're looking at different neighborhoods, and ages and sizes. So there just needs to be more work done on the floor area ratio piece. So as John mentioned, we're gonna go forward with putting the recommendations together on the front entry garage piece, and it has to go to plan.
Then the EV thing, or
And that was by itself too, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's gonna take a little long. We
Itself.
need to
Things to
get
take
some
longer.
new building codes and such in place before we move forward.
And it's not as simple as just changing the electrical code. As some of you might know, it's a whole family of codes.
Yeah.
And you have to update them all at once because they're all interconnected. So it takes a bit of time.
so but we have to set your date. When is it? Accepted, right? Or when do you switch and all that sort of stuff?
Working on it.
All those amendments too, it was like, it's like, it couldn't possibly be time to do that again. Oh my gosh.
And then once you come up with your proposal, by state statute, there's a 90-day waiting period after you introduce it before council can vote on it. So there's a whole process involved. Oh, yeah.
Is there like
That's
a
an interesting
mandatory comment time or something?
Oh,
Is it
90
supposed to
days,
be that?
yeah. So yeah, by state statute, building code adoption, it's introduced and then it sits. And that gives anybody that wants to comment or come in and look at the codes, they could come in and look at the amendments and whatnot and offer comments. But ultimately, it's council's decision.
I heard something interesting today around, which would be applicable to the floor area ratio thing, a national trend, whatever they were talking about on the NPR. With houses now, I mean, the size is being reduced because for one, people are, as a rule, number one, it's less expensive to build. They're trying to look at cost across the board. And then two is because people are finding that contrary to what they may have thought at some point, a larger house doesn't make them happier, and they're having to trade off so much of their style of living and their life and the things that they can do when they have that larger house. And then it actually brings the families together more in there and small. So I thought that was pretty interesting though, because they were just talking about they're seeing a national trend in reducing. I mean, this is probably like the first time they say we've really seen this in recent history, but a national trend in reducing the size of houses, not only because of cost, but actually because of happiness.
That's good.
That was good to know.
And it's less to heat and cool and, maintaining.
And you're not house poor.
Yeah.
You
That's right.
reduce the chances that you will be house poor.
Well, I think people, there's also that issue of people, the whole McMansion thing, right?
Yeah.
They bought this gigantic house thinking it's a big investment and then they're like, whoa, it really wasn't. It's not, I'm not getting anything out of this deal.
And there's opportunity costs.
Yeah.
What have I given up for this?
Yes, what have I done? I can't even furnish all the rooms.
Exactly.
I know that.
And I don't even use them.
Yeah, because, right.
you
It's
know.
all those things.
And-
Drive to qualify things. You had to move
Your
to
car.
East Jesus to get, you can work downtown and you're commuting 45 minutes every day.
All that nonsense.
This is,
If everybody wants to pass their packets, if they don't want them to John or Joe, they will make sure they get recycled.
this isn't, this.
Thank you very much.
Process.
Oh, and we have we have the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One meeting is adjourned.